Commander Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of New Terra Colony and watched the morning sun rise over the blue hills. The sight never got old, even after 5 years of living here. Children ran through the streets below while their parents headed to work in the mining facilities and processing plants. Everything looked peaceful and perfect. Jake turned away from the window and walked to his office. On his desk sat reports from the other 11 human colonies scattered across this part of the galaxy. Each report told the same story of peaceful progress and cooperation with their alien allies. The Zephyrians had been good to humanity since the war ended 37 years ago. The war had been terrible. Jake was too young to remember it, but his father had told him stories. Millions of humans died fighting against the powerful Zephyrian Empire. When the fighting stopped, both sides signed the Centauri Accords. The treaty made humanity a protected species under the watch of the Galactic Council. The Zephyrians promised to help humans grow and learn about the galaxy. Jake picked up his coffee and read the morning briefing. Trade ships would arrive from the Zephyrian worlds next week, bringing new technology and medical supplies. In return, the humans would send processed metals and rare earth materials. It was a fair trade that benefited everyone. His assistant knocked on the door and entered. "Commander Morrison, the children from School District 7 want to visit the mining complex today," she said. Jake smiled and nodded. The kids loved seeing the big machines that dug deep into New Terra's crust. The Zephyrians had taught humans how to build these machines safely and efficiently. Meanwhile, in space above the planet, Captain Lisa Hayes commanded the UES Defiance as it patrolled the outer system. Her ship was one of only 12 military vessels that humanity was allowed to keep under the treaty. Most of the time, they served as escorts for diplomatic missions or helped with rescue operations. Lisa looked at her navigation display. The Kepler frontier stretched out ahead of them, empty and quiet. The Zephyrians had cleared this region of any dangerous alien species years ago. Now human ships could travel safely between the colonies without fear of attack. Her communications officer looked up from his station. "Captain, we are getting a distress signal from Grid 77 Alpha," he reported. Lisa frowned. No human ships were supposed to be in that area. "Take us there at full speed," she ordered. 20 minutes later, they found a small alien vessel drifting in space. The ship was badly damaged with hull breaches on 3 sides. Lisa ordered her crew to bring the pilot aboard their ship. The alien was dying but still conscious when they got him to the medical bay. The creature looked different from any species Lisa had seen before. It had gray skin and large, dark eyes that seemed filled with fear. The medical scanner showed massive internal injuries that could not be healed. "Please," the alien whispered in broken English, "must warn you. The harvest begins soon. The humans don't know their cattle." The creature's eyes closed and the medical monitors went flat. Lisa stared at the body, feeling confused and worried. Back on Earth, Admiral Carl Davis sat in his office, reading reports from the frontier. 3 human exploration ships had gone missing in the past month. Each ship had been investigating star systems that the Zephyrians said were safe for human expansion. When the ships failed to report back, search teams found nothing but empty space. Davis called his Zephyrian liaison, Ambassador Veltar, to discuss the missing ships. The tall alien appeared on his communication screen, looking calm and friendly, as always. "Admiral Davis, how good to hear from you," Veltar said in his smooth voice. "Ambassador, 3 of our ships have disappeared in your cleared sectors," Davis said. "I need to know what happened to them." Veltar's expression showed what appeared to be genuine concern. "This is troubling news, Admiral. Our records show these were navigational errors. The ships must have entered unstable space near collapsed stars. Very unfortunate accidents." Davis felt unsatisfied with the answer, but had no proof of anything else. The Zephyrians had always been helpful and honest in their dealings with humanity. Still, something felt wrong about losing 3 ships in supposedly safe areas. After the Call ended, Davis walked to his window and looked out at the busy streets of Geneva. Humans went about their daily lives never knowing that their entire existence depended on alien protection. The Galactic Council kept humanity safe from the dangerous species that filled the galaxy. Without Zephyrian guidance, humans would still be trapped in their home system. Yet the missing ships bothered him. Davis had been a military officer for 40 years and had learned to trust his instincts. Something was happening in the frontier regions that the Zephyrians were not telling them about. Captain Lisa Hayes arrived at Earth 3 days later with her strange story about the dying alien pilot. She sat in Davis's office and repeated the creature's final words. "The harvest begins soon. The humans don't know their cattle." Davis listened carefully. The words made no sense, but they filled him with unease. What harvest could the alien have meant? And why would humans be compared to cattle? He decided to begin his own quiet investigation into recent events. Something was wrong, and he intended to find out what it was before it was too late. Admiral Carl Davis could not sleep. The dead alien's warning kept repeating in his mind. He sat in his private study at midnight, reading classified files about human-Zephyrian relations. Everything looked normal on the surface, but small details bothered him. He called Dr. Amy Parker to his office the next morning. She was the best intelligence analyst in the human fleet and had worked with Zephyrian communications for 15 years. "Amy, I need you to look at something unusual," he said. "Can our quantum encryption systems decode Zephyrian military transmissions?" Amy looked surprised. "Admiral, that would be illegal under the treaty. We promised never to spy on our allies." Davis handed her Captain Hayes's report about the dying alien. Amy read it twice before looking up with worry in her eyes. "I'll see what I can do," she said quietly. 3 weeks later, Amy returned with files that made Davis's blood run cold. She had intercepted dozens of Zephyrian military communications using experimental quantum methods. The aliens did not know humans had developed this technology in secret. What Amy found changed everything. "Admiral, the Centauri Accords were never meant to protect us," Amy said. Her hands shook as she opened the first file. "Look at this transmission from Zephyrian Command to their colonial governors. They call it the Great Harvest Protocol." Davis read the decoded message and felt sick. The Zephyrians had planned humanity's destruction from the moment the war ended. The treaty was designed to keep humans calm, while the aliens prepared for something called a harvest operation. Every human colony had been positioned near valuable mineral deposits and energy sources. "They've been using us as miners," Amy continued. "We thought we were building our own future, but we were just digging up resources for them. Look at the shipping manifests. 90% of everything we produce goes directly to Zephyrian worlds." The next file was worse. It contained detailed genetic profiles of every human in the colonies. The strongest and smartest humans were marked for slavery in Zephyrian industrial complexes. The rest would be eliminated when the harvest began. Davis saw his own name on the termination list, along with most of the human military leadership. Amy showed him medical reports that made his stomach turn. The helpful medical treatments they've been giving us contain tracking nanites. Every human in the galaxy has been tagged and cataloged. They know exactly where we are at all times. Captain Lisa Hayes arrived on Earth with more disturbing news from her patrol routes. "Admiral, I've been watching Zephyrian ship movements near the colonies. They're positioning fleets in strategic locations. When I asked Ambassador Veltar about it, he said they were conducting training exercises." Dr. Amy Parker had discovered something even more frightening. The cultural exchange students living on our worlds aren't students at all. They're military, reconnaissance specialists. They've been mapping our defenses and identifying key leaders for elimination. Every human colony has been thoroughly scouted for the coming attack. Davis realized the scope of the deception was massive. For 37 years, humanity had lived in a carefully constructed lie. The Zephyrians had never seen humans as partners or even as worthy enemies. They viewed humans as livestock to be managed and eventually harvested. On New Terra, Commander Jake Morrison began noticing strange things about his Zephyrian advisors. They asked too many questions about human military capabilities and seemed very interested in the locations of weapon storage facilities. When Jake mentioned this to his staff, they told him he was being paranoid, but Jake trusted his instincts. He began conducting discreet observations of the Zephyrian compound near the colony. At night, he saw much more activity than there should have been for a small cultural mission. Heavy equipment moved in and out of the compound under cover of darkness. Jake broke into the compound's computer system using skills he had learned during his military training. What he found confirmed his worst fears. The Zephyrians had detailed maps of every human settlement on New Terra. They knew the location of every weapons cache, every communication center, and every government building. More disturbing were the psychological profiles they had compiled on every human colonist. They had identified which humans would resist and which would surrender quickly. They had even calculated how much force would be needed to break human morale in each settlement. Back on Earth, Admiral Davis faced a terrible decision. If he exposed the conspiracy, the Zephyrians would know their secret was out. They might advance their timeline and attack immediately. But if he waited, millions of humans would remain unaware of the danger approaching them. Dr. Amy Parker presented him with the final piece of the puzzle. Admiral, I've decoded their operational timeline. The harvest is scheduled to begin in 6 months during the Festival of Unity. While humans celebrate galactic friendship, Zephyrian fleets will simultaneously attack all 12 colony worlds. The attack plan was brutally efficient. Each colony would be isolated by jamming their communications. Zephyrian forces would capture key facilities within hours, while human defenders struggled to coordinate resistance. The strongest humans would be loaded onto transport ships for slavery. Everyone else would be killed to eliminate future threats. Davis looked at the evidence spread across his desk. 37 years of peace had been a lie. Humanity had been fattened for slaughter while believing they were building a bright future among the stars. The Galactic Council that was supposed to protect them had been part of the deception. Amy, we need to start preparing for war without letting them know we've discovered their plan, Davis said. Contact Captain Hayes and Commander Morrison. Tell them to begin emergency preparations but make it look like routine training exercises. Amy nodded grimly. What about the other colony commanders? Can we trust them? Davis thought about the genetic profiles in the Zephyrian files. Many human leaders had been marked for elimination, which meant the aliens considered them threats. We'll have to take that risk. Humanity's survival depends on it. As Amy left his office, Davis stared out at the peaceful city below. In 6 months, those streets might run red with human blood. But now that he knew the truth, humanity had a chance to fight back. The Zephyrians expected to harvest helpless cattle, but they were about to discover what happened when humans fought for their lives. Admiral Carl Davis knew he could not use normal military channels to prepare for war. Too many human officials worked closely with Zephyrian advisors who would report any suspicious activity. He needed to build a secret network of trusted people who could prepare humanity's defense without alerting their enemies. He started with people he had known for decades. Captain Lisa Hayes received coded orders to contact other ship commanders who had noticed problems with Zephyrian reports. Commander Ben Taylor of the UES Guardian had complained about missing patrol ships in his sector. Captain Sam Blake of the UES Ranger had questioned why human vessels were forbidden from entering certain areas of space. On the deep space mining platform, Titan 7 engineer Roy Chen discovered something that changed everything. The Zephyrian safety protocols that limited human industrial output were not designed to protect workers. They were designed to keep humanity weak and dependent. Roy had been studying the mining platform's systems when he noticed strange restrictions in the computer code. The machines could operate at 3 times their current capacity, but Zephyrian software prevented them from reaching full power. When he tested the systems in secret, the results amazed him. These platforms could mine enough. "Raw materials to build a fleet of warships," Roy told his assistant. "The Zephyrians have been keeping us weak on purpose." He began documenting all the artificial limitations built into human technology. Every factory, every mining operation, and every construction facility had been crippled by alien software. Roy contacted Admiral Davis through encrypted channels and shared his discoveries. Davis realized that humanity had been building the infrastructure for war without knowing it. Every mining platform could be converted into a weapons factory. Every construction facility could produce military equipment. The Zephyrians had given humans the tools for resistance while believing they were creating better slaves. On the colony world Haven, Dr. Kate Sullivan made a discovery that filled her with rage. She had been investigating unusual medical data from Zephyrian health clinics when she found evidence of illegal experiments. The aliens had been testing human pain tolerance, psychological breaking points, and optimal work conditions for slavery. Kate broke into a remote medical facility during a nighttime storm. What she found inside made her sick. Human volunteers who thought they were helping with medical research had actually been subjected to torture designed to prepare for the harvest. The Zephyrians wanted to know exactly how much suffering humans could endure before breaking completely. She photographed everything and escaped before dawn. The evidence showed that some humans had been driven insane by the experiments while others had died from the procedures. All of it had been disguised as beneficial medical research that would help humanity adapt to alien environments. Captain Lisa Hayes led a dangerous mission to infiltrate a Zephyrian communication relay station in the Vega system. Her team included demolitions expert Tony Martinez and infiltration specialist Nina Foster. They approached the station in a modified cargo ship that appeared to be delivering routine supplies. Nina used stolen Zephyrian identification codes to access the station's computer systems. While Tony planted monitoring devices throughout the facility, Nina downloaded terabytes of military data. They discovered detailed invasion plans for every human world, including exact attack coordinates and target priorities. The mission nearly failed when a Zephyrian security patrol arrived unexpectedly. Lisa's crew had to fight their way out using improvised weapons and quick thinking. They escaped with critical intelligence, but the aliens would eventually discover that their systems had been compromised. Back on New Terra, Commander Jake Morrison faced a difficult challenge. He needed to prepare civilian colonists for war without revealing the truth about their peaceful alien neighbors. Many humans had formed friendships with Zephyrian exchange students and would not believe their allies were planning genocide. Jake began organizing emergency preparedness drills disguised as safety exercises. He taught colonists how to use mining equipment as weapons and how to defend their settlements against hypothetical natural disasters. The colonists thought they were learning survival skills, but they were actually training for guerrilla warfare. Some humans resisted Jake's efforts because they trusted their Zephyrian friends completely. Dr. Sarah Wilson, who ran the colony's main hospital, argued that the drills were unnecessary and disruptive. "The Zephyrians have protected us for decades," she said. "Why would we need to defend ourselves from imaginary threats?" Jake could not tell her the truth without risking exposure, but he continued the training programs anyway. He secretly armed trusted colonists and established hidden weapon caches throughout New Terra. When the attack came, his people would be ready to fight even if they did not understand why. Dr. Amy Parker worked with a team of cryptographers to break deeper into Zephyrian military networks. They discovered that the harvest operation was larger than anyone had imagined. The Zephyrians planned to attack 17 other species after finishing with humanity. Humans were just the first target in a massive galactic conquest. The intelligence also revealed internal debates among Zephyrian leaders. Some wanted to keep more humans alive as slaves, while others preferred complete extermination. The moderates argued that humans were too dangerous to keep alive even as workers. They had seen how quickly humans adapted to new technology and feared future rebellion. Admiral Davis realized that time was running out. The harvest was still 4 months away, but Zephyrian fleets were already moving into position around human space. If the aliens discovered that their secret was out, they would attack immediately without waiting for their planned timeline. He made the hardest decision of his career. Humanity would have to prepare for total war while maintaining the illusion of peaceful cooperation. Every human military officer, scientist, and engineer would need to work in secret to give their species a chance at survival. Davis activated Operation Broken Chain, a massive covert mobilization effort that would transform human space into a fortress. Mining platforms would become weapons factories. Cargo ships would hide military equipment. Civilian colonies would train for desperate resistance against impossible odds. The Zephyrians viewed humans as primitive cattle who could never threaten their advanced civilization. They were about to learn that they had made a fatal mistake. Humanity had survived Ice Age's plagues and countless wars by adapting to any threat. The aliens had given humans 37 years to spread across the galaxy and build the tools they needed for revenge. Roy Chen began the secret conversion of industrial facilities, while Dr. Kate Sullivan developed biological weapons that could target Zephyrian physiology. Captain Lisa Hayes trained her fellow ship commanders in tactics designed to fight technologically superior enemies. Commander Jake Morrison prepared his colonists for the worst battle in human history. The treaty had been a lie, but humanity's response would become the galaxy's new truth. Admiral Carl Davis stood before a holographic display showing human space. Red markers indicated Zephyrian fleet positions, while blue dots marked human colonies and industrial facilities. The enemy was already in position for their planned harvest. Humanity had less than 3 months to prepare for total war. Operation Broken Chain required perfect coordination across 12 worlds and hundreds of space installations. Every human facility had to be secretly converted for military production, while maintaining the appearance of normal operations. The slightest mistake would alert the Zephyrians and trigger an immediate attack. Engineer Roy Chen worked 18-hour days converting mining platforms into weapon manufacturing centers. The Titan VII platform became the prototype for the transformation. Roy's team removed artificial limitations from the industrial systems and discovered that human technology was far more powerful than the Zephyrians had allowed them to believe. "These mining lasers can cut through starship armor like paper," Roy reported to Admiral Davis during a secure communication. "We've been using equipment capable of destroying battleships to dig holes in asteroids. The safety protocols were actually weapon control systems." Roy trained teams of engineers on every platform to make the same modifications. Construction mechs designed for building colonies were retrofitted with armor plating and heavy weapons. Cargo haulers received hidden missile launchers and reinforced hulls. Transport ships became troop carriers equipped for planetary assault. The most ambitious project involved converting civilian factories into military production centers. Roy discovered that the Zephyrians had deliberately designed human facilities to be easily converted for warship construction. They had planned to use human industrial capacity to build their own fleet after the harvest. On New Terra, Commander Jake Morrison continued training colonists for guerrilla warfare while maintaining the fiction of emergency preparedness. The civilians still believed they were learning safety procedures, but they were actually becoming a formidable resistance force. Jake established hidden supply depots throughout the colony using natural cave systems and abandoned mining tunnels. Each depot contained weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and communication equipment. If the colony fell to enemy forces, the resistance could continue fighting for months from underground bases. The biggest challenge was convincing skeptical colonists without revealing the truth. Dr. Sarah Wilson continued to oppose the training, programs arguing that they were unnecessary and harmful to colony morale. Jake had to work around her resistance while hoping she would understand when the fighting began. Some colonists suspected that something serious was happening. Mining supervisor Bob Carter noticed that Jake was stockpiling unusual amounts of equipment and supplies. "Commander, what aren't you telling us?" Bob asked during a private meeting. Jake wanted to explain everything, but he could not risk the information reaching Zephyrian ears. Captain Lisa Hayes led the naval preparation effort with help from Commanders Ben Taylor and Sam Blake. The three ship commanders developed new tactics, designed to fight against superior numbers and technology. Human ships were smaller and less advanced than Zephyrian vessels, but they could be faster and more maneuverable. Lisa's team studied every known engagement between human and Zephyrian forces during the previous war. They identified weaknesses in alien ship design and developed attack patterns that could exploit those flaws. The key was avoiding direct confrontation while striking at critical systems. The UES Defiance became a test bed for new weapon systems disguised as routine maintenance upgrades. Roy Chen's industrial teams provided modified mining equipment that could be mounted on warships. Civilian cargo holds were converted into missile bays. Navigation systems received quantum encryption upgrades that would prevent enemy jamming. Dr. Amy Parker worked with intelligence teams to map Zephyrian command structures and identify key targets for disruption. Her analysis revealed that the aliens relied heavily on centralized control systems. If human forces could destroy the right communication nodes, they could blind entire enemy fleets. Amy also coordinated with Dr. Kate Sullivan to develop biological weapons based on stolen Zephyrian medical data. Kate had discovered that the aliens were vulnerable to certain Earth bacteria that had been harmless to humans. With careful modification, these organisms could become devastating weapons against enemy forces. We can target their respiratory systems or nervous systems depending on how we design the payload, Kate explained during a secure briefing. The same nanites they use to track us can become delivery systems for their own destruction. The psychological warfare aspect fell to communications specialist Dave Reed, who developed propaganda broadcasts designed to demoralize Zephyrian forces. The aliens believed humans were primitive and helpless. Learning that their cattle had become wolves would shake their confidence and disrupt their command structure. As the weeks passed, Davis watched human space transform into a fortress. Mining platforms bristled with hidden weapons. Cargo ships carried concealed marines ready for boarding actions. Colony worlds prepared underground resistance networks that could fight for years if necessary. The most dangerous moment came when Zephyrian inspectors arrived for routine facility tours. Roy Chen had to hide military modifications while showing the aliens exactly what they expected to see. One mining platform failed inspection when a Zephyrian engineer noticed unauthorized modifications to the laser systems. "This equipment has been altered beyond safety specifications," the alien inspector reported. Roy quickly blamed the changes on efficiency improvements and promised to restore the original settings. The inspector accepted the explanation, but Davis knew they were running out of time before someone noticed the pattern. Jake Morrison faced a crisis when Dr. Sarah Wilson discovered weapon caches hidden near the medical center. She confronted Jake in his office, demanding to know why the colony was preparing for war. "The Zephyrians are our allies," she insisted. "This paranoid military buildup will destroy everything we've built here." Jake made a difficult decision. He told Sarah part of the truth about intercepted communications and missing exploration ships. He could not reveal the full scope of the conspiracy, but he gave her enough information to understand that something was seriously wrong. Sarah struggled to accept that their peaceful alien friends might be enemies, but she was a smart woman who had noticed inconsistencies in Zephyrian medical data. When Jake showed her Kate Sullivan's evidence about illegal experiments, Sarah finally understood the truth. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. Jake told her that the attack could come at any time. Sarah nodded and began converting her medical facilities into emergency trauma centers. She also started training civilian medics for battlefield conditions without explaining why the training was necessary. Admiral Davis received daily reports about Zephyrian fleet movements that showed the enemy was almost ready to begin their harvest. Human preparations were advancing rapidly, but they still needed more time to complete the military conversion. The breakthrough came when Amy Parker intercepted communications about internal debates among Zephyrian commanders. Some aliens wanted to advance the timeline, while others insisted on waiting for optimal conditions. The debates were buying humanity precious weeks to finish their preparations. Davis realized that the Zephyrians' own overconfidence was working against them. They were so certain of victory that they were taking time to perfect their plans. The aliens could not imagine that primitive humans might discover their secret and prepare effective resistance. Roy Chen completed the conversion. Of the last mining platform, just as long-range sensors detected massive Zephyrian fleet movements toward human space. The harvest was about to begin, but humanity was ready to fight back with weapons the aliens never suspected existed. The treaty had promised protection but delivered betrayal. Now humans would show the galaxy what happened when peaceful people were pushed beyond their breaking point. The Zephyrian harvest began 6 months ahead of schedule when their scouts discovered evidence of human military preparations. Admiral Vecatorius commanded the largest fleet in Zephyrian history as it moved to eliminate the human threat before it could fully develop. He expected to face helpless civilians and obsolete military equipment. Instead, he encountered humanity's finest hour. The attack on New Terra became the first battle of humanity's war for survival. Commander Jake Morrison watched enemy ships descend through the atmosphere as colonists ran to their assigned defensive positions. The Zephyrians had planned to capture the colony intact, but they found a prepared and furious population waiting for them. Jake's converted mining equipment proved devastatingly effective against Zephyrian assault craft. Industrial lasers designed to cut through asteroid rock carved enemy ships into pieces. Construction mechs equipped with armor plating and heavy weapons became mobile fortresses that dominated the battlefield. Dr. Sarah Wilson had transformed her medical center into a command bunker where she coordinated civilian resistance. The colonists she had once protected from Jake's military training now fought with desperate courage, using skills they had learned during emergency drills. Mining supervisor Bob Carter led a team that used explosives to collapse tunnels and trap enemy forces underground. The Zephyrians had expected to land unopposed and round up helpless humans for transport to slave camps. Instead, they faced coordinated resistance from fighters who knew every inch of their home territory. Colony children used maintenance tunnels to move supplies, while adults ambushed alien patrols with improvised weapons. In space above New Terra, Captain Lisa Hayes commanded a fleet of ships that the enemy had dismissed as harmless cargo vessels. The UES Defiance revealed its hidden weapons as it led the attack against the Zephyrian battle group. Modified mining platforms emerged from behind asteroids to unleash devastating firepower on surprised enemy ships. Roy Chen's industrial conversions exceeded every expectation. Cargo haulers that appeared defenseless suddenly bristled with missile launchers and particle cannons. Mining platforms that seemed like easy targets became orbital fortresses that could destroy battleships. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting an enemy they had created without knowing it. Commander Ben Taylor of the UES Guardian coordinated the space battle from his modified command ship. His vessel had been disguised as a research platform, but actually served as a mobile weapons factory. As the battle raged, Roy's engineering teams assembled new weapons systems and launched them from concealed fabrication bays. The turning point came when Captain Sam Blake led a squadron of converted cargo ships in a suicide attack against the Zephyrian flagship. The aliens expected the human vessels to surrender when faced with superior firepower. Instead, the cargo ships revealed their true nature as heavily armed assault vessels that overwhelmed enemy defenses through sheer determination. On Earth, Admiral Carl Davis coordinated the overall human response from a command center hidden beneath Geneva. Dr. Amy Parker's intelligence network provided real-time tactical data that allowed human forces to stay ahead of Zephyrian strategy. The quantum communication system that was supposed to coordinate peaceful trade became the backbone of human military command. The Zephyrians discovered that their nanite tracking system had become a weapon against them. Dr. Kate Sullivan's medical teams had modified the alien technology to deliver targeted biological agents. Every Zephyrian who had ever examined a human patient now carried dormant viruses designed to destroy their species. Kate's biological weapons spread through Zephyrian ranks like wildfire. The aliens had spent decades cataloging human biology without realizing that humans were also learning about them. Earth bacteria modified with advanced genetic engineering created plagues that were harmless to humans but lethal to their enemies. The battle for Haven Colony showed the galaxy that humans would never surrender quietly. When Zephyrian forces surrounded the main settlement, the colonists activated underground resistance networks that had been prepared in secret. Every building became a fortress and every civilian became a soldier. Mining engineer Terry Stone led a team that used industrial equipment to create an impenetrable defensive perimeter. Excavation machines dug tank traps while drilling equipment created underground bunkers. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting an enemy that could reshape the battlefield faster than they could adapt their tactics. Communications specialist Dave Reed broadcast propaganda messages that shattered Zephyrian morale. The aliens had been told they were harvesting primitive cattle, but they were dying in battles against technologically advanced enemies. Reed's psychological warfare convinced many Zephyrian soldiers that their commanders had lied about human capabilities. The space battles around human colonies became legendary examples of tactical innovation. Captain Lisa Hayes developed hit and run tactics that allowed smaller human ships to destroy much larger enemy vessels. Her crews used superior knowledge of local space conditions to set traps and ambushes that devastated Zephyrian fleets. Admiral Vecatorius realized too late that the harvest had become a trap. Human industrial capacity was producing warships faster than his forces could destroy them. Every mining platform and cargo depot had become a military factory, churning out weapons designed specifically to kill Zephyrians. The Zephyrian strategy depended on quick victory and minimal resistance. Instead, they faced grinding warfare against enemies who refused to quit. Human colonies that were supposed to fall in hours continued fighting for weeks. Space battles that should have ended in Zephyrian victory turned into costly defeats that bled the alien fleet dry. Roy Chen's engineering teams achieved the impossible by converting civilian infrastructure into military production in real time. As battles raged around them, factory workers assembled new weapon systems and launched them directly into combat. The Zephyrians could not target human industrial capacity because it was distributed across hundreds of facilities that looked like civilian installations. The biological warfare campaign reached its climax when Kate Sullivan's viruses penetrated Zephyrian High Command. Admiral Vecatorius himself became infected during a video conference with human negotiators who appeared to be discussing surrender terms. The alien fleet commander died within hours as the modified Earth bacteria destroyed his nervous system. Jake Morrison's defense of New Terra became a symbol of human resistance throughout the galaxy. His colonists held their ground against impossible odds while broadcasting messages of defiance to other human worlds. The mining supervisor who had questioned emergency drills now led commando raids that captured Zephyrian weapons and intelligence. Dr. Sarah Wilson coordinated medical care for both human defenders and captured enemy soldiers. Her treatment of wounded Zephyrians with the same care she gave to humans confused alien prisoners who had been told that humans were savage beasts. Many Zephyrians began questioning everything their leaders had told them about the harvest. The war that was supposed to last days stretched into months as human resistance proved impossible to break. Zephyrian forces found themselves fighting an enemy that adapted faster than they could develop new tactics. Every defeat made humans stronger, while every victory cost the aliens resources they could not replace. Admiral Davis watched tactical displays that showed Zephyrian fleets retreating from human space after suffering massive casualties. The harvest had failed completely, and the alien empire was beginning to collapse under the weight of military disasters they had never expected to face. The galaxy would remember this as the moment when humanity announced its presence as a major power. The species that aliens had dismissed as cattle had become wolves that would never again accept a subordinate position in galactic affairs. 18 months after the war began, humanity achieved total victory over the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Carl Davis stood on the bridge of his flagship as it orbited the former enemy homeworld. The planet that had once commanded a galactic empire now lay defenseless before human fleets that had grown stronger with every battle. The Zephyrian military collapse happened faster than anyone expected. Their forces had been designed to fight primitive species that would surrender quickly when faced with superior technology. Against humans who refused to quit and adapted to every challenge, the alien war machine simply broke apart. Commander Jake Morrison walked through the ruins of the Zephyrian compound on New Terra where the harvest had begun. His colonists had captured every alien who had participated in the deception. The cultural exchange students, who had mapped human defenses, now sat in prison cells waiting for war crimes trials. The evidence of Zephyrian atrocities continued to mount as human forces liberated alien research facilities. Dr. Kate Sullivan discovered laboratories where thousands of humans had been tortured and killed during medical experiments. The aliens had been perfecting techniques for breaking human resistance long before the planned harvest. On Earth, Dr. Amy Parker coordinated the broadcast of intercepted Zephyrian communications to every species in the galaxy. The decoded messages revealed the full scope of the conspiracy and the Galactic Council's complicity through deliberate inaction. 17 other species learned they had been marked for future harvests after humanity's elimination. The galactic response was swift and brutal. Species that had remained neutral during the human war now joined the fight against their former Zephyrian overlords. The empire that had dominated the galaxy for centuries found itself facing enemies on every front as former subjects rose in rebellion. Captain Lisa Hayes commanded the human fleet that captured the Zephyrian capital system. Her ships had evolved from converted cargo vessels into the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Roy Chen's engineering teams had reverse-engineered captured alien technology and improved it beyond its original specifications. The space battle for Zephyr Prime lasted only 6 hours. The aliens, who had once seemed invincible, now flew obsolete ships against human vessels equipped with weapons that defied their understanding of physics. Zephyrian admirals who had planned to harvest cattle found themselves outmatched by wolves, who had learned to hunt. Roy Chen established human industrial facilities on captured Zephyrian worlds using the aliens' own infrastructure against them. The mining platforms and factories that were supposed to process human slaves now served human expansion across the galaxy. Every Zephyrian world became a stepping stone for humanity's rise to galactic dominance. The most difficult decisions came when defeated Zephyrian leaders offered surrender terms. Ambassador Veltar transmitted proposals for reparations and limited human autonomy from his hiding place on a remote moon. Other alien officials suggested returning to a more equitable version of the original treaty. Admiral Davis received these offers while standing in the chamber where the Centauri Accords had been signed 37 years earlier. The same room where humanity had accepted protection was now the place where their former protectors begged for mercy. Jake Morrison represented the voice of the colonies during surrender negotiations. His words echoed through the galaxy as he delivered humanity's response to alien peace overtures. They planned to harvest us like animals. They would have sold our children into slavery. There can be no forgiveness for this. The Galactic Council, that had remained silent during humanity's planned extinction, suddenly appeared with offers of mediation and new membership proposals. Captain Lisa Hayes answered their diplomatic messages by broadcasting the complete record of Zephyrian atrocities to every civilized world in known space. The evidence destroyed the Council's credibility and revealed their cowardice. While humanity faced genocide, the supposed guardians of galactic peace had done nothing to prevent the harvest. Their belated offers of membership were rejected with contempt by human leaders who no longer trusted alien institutions. Dr. Kate Sullivan's research teams ensured that no Zephyrian could ever again threaten humanity through biological warfare. They developed targeted plague weapons and genetic markers that would forever protect human populations from alien pathogens. The same medical knowledge that was supposed to enslave humans became the foundation for their biological dominance. The trials of captured Zephyrian officials became a model for galactic justice. Ambassador Veltar faced charges of conspiracy to commit genocide, along with hundreds of other aliens who had participated in the deception. Human prosecutors presented evidence that shocked even hardened war crimes investigators. Commander Ben Taylor led the human occupation forces that dismantled Zephyrian military installations throughout the galaxy. Alien weapons factories were converted to produce ships for human fleets, while research facilities were stripped of technology that would strengthen humanity's position among the stars. The transformation of human space amazed galactic observers, who had dismissed humans as a minor species. Former colonies became the capitals of an expanding empire that controlled the most valuable systems in known space. Mining platforms grew into orbital cities, while cargo routes became highways for human expansion. Captain Sam Blake commanded the human fleet that established humanity's new galactic borders. His ships patrolled boundaries that extended far beyond the original 12 colony worlds. Every species in the galaxy now knew that human space was forbidden territory where aliens entered only with permission. The psychological impact of humanity's victory resonated throughout galactic civilization. Species that had accepted Zephyrian dominance for centuries suddenly realized that empires could fall and that technological superiority meant nothing against determined resistance. Engineer Terry Stone supervised the construction of human shipyards in captured Zephyrian systems. These facilities produced warships that incorporated the best alien technology enhanced by human innovation. The species that had once built machines to harvest humans now provided the raw materials for human supremacy. Dr. Amy Parker established the Human Intelligence Network that monitored every alien species for signs of future threats. The communications systems that had once served Zephyrian tyranny now carried human surveillance to every corner of the galaxy. No alien conspiracy would ever again catch humanity unprepared. Admiral Davis addressed the galaxy from the former Zephyrian throne world as he announced humanity's new policies toward alien species. His words became known throughout space as the Davis Doctrine and established the principles that would guide human expansion for generations. We offered friendship and received treachery. We sought peace and found slavery waiting in the shadows. Humanity remembers everything, forgives nothing, and never again will we be anyone's cattle. The treaty was a lie, but humanity's response had become the galaxy's new truth. The species that aliens had dismissed as primitive cattle had become the dominant predators in a universe where strength determined survival and humans had proven themselves the strongest of all.